Welcome to the show, the Court of Public Opinion, where we say what we want to say and we hope you respond, and I thank you for all the comments that you do make. We had a meeting with Andy Martin earlier in the week, and we're bringing together this idea. We're tossing around whether we move from being purely on Facebook and the podcasts to being on podcast only, not worrying about the pictures, just being on podcast, setting up our little studio with our mixer and ability to have guests and music and phone calls. In other words, a radio show without the transmitter, because you just go to your Google Nest or your other device and you ask to play the latest edition of Jeremy Cordo's Court of Public Opinion podcast. And there it is. And what Andy was saying was, look, why don't we do a 3-hour program on a Friday just to see what happens, with phone calls and music and guests and everything.
Well, basically your old show.
Well, basically the old show, yeah. Yep. So the Cordo Show, or the Court of Public Opinion, is back. The only difference is that instead of, I know I do with my Google Nest thing, I listen to the radio stations that I want to, listen to the programs I want to on that. Absolutely no difference to saying, hey Google, play John Laws on 2SM, or hey Google, play Jeremy Cordo's Court of Public Opinion, the latest podcast. It's exactly the same. It would come over in exactly the same way, except you don't have all of the infrastructure that goes along with having a radio station. It seems, as Pete and I have discussed, and we've mentioned here on the program, seems like the future. Anyway, have a think about it. I'd like some feedback on that. I must admit I'm drawn to the idea, just to see what happens. Nothing may happen. We mightn't get one single phone call. I don't know. But I suspect if we got a bit of publicity to let people know that the Cordo Show is back, it could be interesting. Anyway, let me know. Now, before we talk about things, it's the 30th of June. Now, isn't that the end of the financial year, Pete?
Yeah.
Whoa! Do all the things you got to do. Do it. 30th of June. I mentioned to you, I think it was yesterday, that the first Superman comic sold for, I can't remember what the figure was, $60,000 or something. First Superman comic. It says here, 1938, Superman first appeared in DC Comic Action Comics series issue number 1 on this day in 1938. Goes to show you never should throw anything away, even as a kid when you buy a comic book. Keep it. You don't know. I go down to Scammell's and quite clearly people have made an absolute passion of collecting stuff over a lifetime, and it can sometimes be enormously profitable. Yeah. The world's first emergency telephone call service is launched in London on this day in 1937, and you used the number 999. Dial 999. Robert Ballard, American explorer and discoverer, he discovered the Titanic wreck in 1986. He was born in Wichita, Kansas in 1942. Pete, have you ever been to Wichita?
Not yet.
It seems like a magical place. I mean, I've been reading books about Wichita and looking at movies about Wichita. I think some of the famous...
Well,
Wyatt Earp was there, and Dodge City, and Tombstone. Wonderful names. Wonderful names. What else can I say? Winton Motor Garage, or Winton Motor Carriage Company, publishes the first known automobile ad in Scientific American, using the headline, "Dispense with a Horse." Oh, never. Horses are as wonderful as motor cars. You can't throw your arms around a motor car the way you can throw your arms around a horse, though. No, you can't. Nancy Mitford, English author. Love in a Cold Climate. One of the Mitford sisters dies of cancer at 68 in 1973. The Philippines closes all non-Catholic Chinese restaurants. Really? 1755. Wonder why they do that. Margaret Mitchell's novel Gone with the Wind is published in 1936. Didn't take long for it to be made into a movie. Murray Cook, Australian children's singer. The Wiggles, he's the Red Wiggle, born in Cowra, New South Wales in 1960. British commissioners of longitude grant self-taught clockmaker John Harrison £500 after the successful trial of his first longitude clock, which gave the world navigation which it had never seen the like of before in history. 1737. Golly. Singer-actress Olivia Newton-John weds natural health businessman John Easterling in Florida at Jupiter Island in 2008. The first trial for piracy by the British Admiralty Court outside of Britain finds Captain John Quelch and 5 crew guilty and sentenced to hang that same day. Rough and swift justice. 1704. A couple more. Susan Hayward, American actress, 1917, born. Died in 1975. London's Tower Bridge opens across the Thames in 1894. And New York is named the world's wealthiest city, home to 345,600 millionaires and 59 billionaires, with Tokyo and San Francisco making up the top 3. That was 2022. Oh, I must make comment on this. It was an obituary, and it was headed up after decades contributing to science. John Goodenough. Powers down. But isn't that a wonderful name? John Goodenough. John Goodenough. American material scientist and co-inventor of the lithium-ion battery, John B. Goodenough, died yesterday. This is stated Wednesday's date, so he died on Tuesday. According to reports, he was 100 years old. He won a Nobel Prize, but he never patented the lithium-ion battery. At the time, he was a chemistry teacher at Oxford University. And he just wasn't a businessman, or he wasn't a materialist, so he just basically gave it to the world. Nobel laureate. He did win the Nobel Prize for it, though. Nobel laureate, professor of mechanical, material science and electrical engineering at the University of Texas in his latter years in Austin. Enjoyed a long and prestigious career in chemistry, but is best known for his significant contribution to the development of the lithium-ion battery, which helped shape the landscape of modern telecommunications and computing. I wonder if he knew they caught on fire as easily as they do. Bit of a problem. I saw something on television the other night and I thought I'd bring it up. It's probably not fair to do it, but anyway. Television stations promoting programs that never should have been made, let alone promoted. Now, I'm talking about the Warney biopic, an absolute flop in every ratings city around the country except Melbourne. Melbourne. Now, Pete, I'm sorry, what did you think of Warney, I'm sorry. You didn't watch it. Nobody else did. It's the truth. Dear, oh dear. An absolute ratings flop. And the whole point about being a executive producer of a television station is that you have to have insight into what's going to work. You know, you have to have an ear, like an A&R man at a record company. You've got to know what a hit sounds like. Anyway, it worked in Melbourne, but Blind Freddie should have known before buying it that it just wasn't going to fly. I don't even know that he was particularly likeable. He was just a larrikin.
I liked him.
You liked him? Then why didn't you watch the show?
I didn't like the actor.
Oh, okay. Well, there's a lot to that as well. Code white in the hospital systems of Adelaide on Monday. It's usually a code white every second day. Here, far, far too regularly. Now, this chaos has got to stop, particularly as it was an election issue. The most expensive hospital in the world has got to be up to the job. Now, who do we investigate? Who do we sue? Who do we interview? Who do we talk to? Someone must be responsible for an investment like that that is not fit for purpose. Got to be an answer. I don't even know where the opposition is on this. They seem to think that sending out tweets is an effective campaign tool. Really? No, I'm sorry. No. I don't know if you've ever heard of Angel Flight, talking about hospitals, Angel Flight. It's a wonderful idea, wonderful organisation. Pilots and their aircraft are given free to anyone needing urgent medical attention. And they're all volunteers who give their time, risk their lives to rescue people from all over Australia who otherwise would never make it to hospital. And it's all free. And we here in the Court of Public Opinion would like to give you guys at Angel Flight the yay for the day. I don't think there's anything like Angel Flight anywhere else in the world. So whoever thought of it should at least be up for an Order of Australia, I would think. Oh, Heather. Yes, Heather. I got a note here. Heather says, Jeremy, you're a bit hard on people with kids. Childcare for free. What's wrong with that? No, there's nothing wrong with that, Heather. Nothing. But you have to admit that people earning $500,000 a year should be able to afford their own childcare. But regardless, I mean, I've been there. I know it's hard. You have to juggle. You have to call on neighbours and your in-laws and God knows what. But if you choose to have children, I have to take responsibility for everything. Their health, their childcare, their education, they are my children. The taxpayer is not involved and not responsible, that I'm aware of anyway. I'm sorry, Heather, maybe what I'm saying is not popular, but it really is what I believe. There's just so much money to go around. More and more people are swinging to the generic brands, which is sort of along the same line. You know, there's just so much housekeeping money to go around. It seems that we can save 50% on our shopping bill if we desert the famous or the established brands and go for the much cheaper brands. Most of the time, I'm told, you may correct me if I'm wrong or the information I'm given is wrong, those generic brands are exactly the same as the bigger popular brands, just repackaged. Now, if that's wrong, tell me. But I really don't like the idea that the bit that I put in the bin can be worth 50% of the price. And for those people who sort of doubt that We actually produced the court of public opinion in the garage. Caroline just drove her car in. So it's real. It's quite authentic. Rental accommodation is difficult and expensive, I know. But to have to leave your pet is just terrible. You have a pet. Everyone should have a pet. I'm sure, Pete, you'd agree?
Yes, absolutely.
You can't say no pets, can you? You bring your pet with you. Is that so drastic? You need a home, but you have to take your animals with you. Or what do? Take the pet to the RSPCA or the Animal Welfare League, who've got really enough on hand at the moment. No one should be able to say you can't have your pets with you. I think that's a terrible policy. I'm sure there are people who think, oh, well, if I could say the same thing about children, I would. I just don't think I'd rent a place from somebody who said I can't have my pet with me. That's not good for one's psychological well-being or health. Simple solutions for complicated problems, ladies and gentlemen. Anyone imagine that The Voice is going to do anything about domestic violence that rages in Aboriginal communities? Australian women who live in fear for their lives because of this society, this culture. I am told that these people will have unprecedented influence over our national parliament with this Voice thing. But what will it be saying? What in God's name are these people thinking? Does anyone imagine that The Voice would do anything for justice, domestic violence, education, health, incarceration, intoxication, violence? No. No. And these are the real problems. Aboriginal people have equality. They simply have to take advantage of it. It's all there. But you must look at it democratically. Unless you're after dismantling democracy, 3% of the population can't tell 97% of the population what to do, right or wrong, good or bad. And that's true. The wealth of, well, I can't exactly call it a wealth, can I? But the amount of stuff that pours in with regard to this issue of The Voice is quite unprecedented. Thomas Mayo, I hope you've caught up with some of the things that he's been saying famously or infamously. I've got one here. Thomas Mayo tweeted, "The Voice would advise on Australia Day." He said, the date could change to the day of the referendum. Now he says that he no longer shares that view. Voice to Parliament architect Thomas Mayo spent years insisting that it would be the only way for the nation to determine how and when we should celebrate Australia Day. But the prominent Yes campaigner and signatory to the Uluru Statement from the Heart has sensationally backflipped, falling into step with a Labor government which remains adamant a date change would not be of interest to the advisory body. Well, how many times can you do a backflip? As many times, I suggest, as you want to. Now, listen to this one. This is interesting. Big W slaps down 1-star review for pro-voice to Parliament book. Big W, the department store. You know, they're not political commentators, they're a department store. Big W has slapped down a customer who gave a 1-star review to a $12 book explaining how the Indigenous Voice to Parliament would work. One purchaser wrote a scathing summary of the Voice to Parliament handbook, written by a key architect of the Voice, Thomas Mayo. There he is again. and the former ABC presenter, Kerry O'Brien. Absolutely no detail about what changing the Constitution will do, the dissatisfied customer wrote. Was hoping to learn about what would happen when we enshrined the voice. Just propaganda and fluff, that's all I got. The discount variety store's brand manager was so upset with the review that he fired back to the customer with a response about its commitment to the voice. Big W's commitment to the voice? As a diverse workplace, Big W recognises the significance of National Reconciliation Week for all Australians, and as part of the Woolworths Group, we are committed to reconciliation and support to the Uluru Statement from the Heart. We hope that you can continue. We hope we can continue to learn together with our team. This is talking to the customer. We hope you, the customer, can help learn with our team. Anyway, he's sort of this hapless guy, with respect, bit off more than he can chew, because the Daily Mail decided they'd run a survey, a straw poll on the whole episode with Big W. And the question was, should Big W be passing judgment on customers' views on the voice? Yes, came back 3%. 3%. 38 votes. The no vote, that is to say, customers should not be passing, customers should have the right to say yes or no. They should, of course, be able to judge. The no came back as 97%, 1,275 votes for democracy. Long live democracy is all I can say, ladies and gentlemen. Have a lovely weekend. Thank you very much for viewing the Court of Public Opinion. This is not the last that you and I have heard of The Voice. It's going to be lingering for a while. We'll have more to say about it next week, maybe. Drive carefully, believe in yourself, and goodbye for now.